everybody. So, you know my name is John Bell. What you might not know is how much I hate these pants. I mean, really, look at them. You can't do anything in them. You couldn't climb a ladder. You couldn't ride a bike. At that point, why even leave the house? They just don't really do much other than look good. Now, the reason I think that way about design is I went to art school not so much to learn how to make things pretty, but to learn how to make things usable. So form follows function to me is kind of my North Star when I'm trying to figure out how to do a design. But for the last year, I've been working at a great place called Frog Design, and they're fantastic at this stuff. What I've found is they've taken the concepts that I learned back in art school, and they've sort of extended them. And I've learned a lot of tricks in the last year. I'd like to share them with you today, things I wish I had known about 10 years ago. So consistency. This is one of these words that you hear a lot about in software design. But let's look at this page through the lens of consistency. This isn't strictly very consistent. We've all been here. We all know how to use it. We're not confused by it. This is what it would look like consistent with the rest of the site. You've got the Chrome everywhere. You've got, search on the top, nav on the left, upsells everywhere. This is the experience that everyone sees on Amazon. So in this case, consistency is actually taking away from the quality of the page. What's happening here is that consistency and predictability are usually on the same team, but every so often they start fighting. And when they do, go with predictability. You always know a novice designer because they're talking about consistency all the time, but predictability is really what you're going for. Great example of this is how the Mac versus Windows deals with the home and end keys. On Windows, you've got the cursor going to the beginning of the line and the end of the line with home and end. Well, if you look on the left there, the Mac actually has a super consistent layout. 2 modifier keys, 4 arrows, you can shoot all around. It's very consistent. On the Windows side, there's not a whole lot of beauty to the structure of that, but a funny thing happened, market share. Everyone in the world uses home and end, beginning and end of the line, just because of market share. Not necessarily a better design, but it won, de facto. Simplicity. This is another big word. I am really guilty of design for your mother. It usually works, but it can be taken too far. My mom is actually really intelligent, but to hear me talk, she's like a drooling moron in every design review. And that's not the right way to think about mainstream users or your mom. I mean, the average user is getting more savvy year after year, so when you're designing, keep that in mind. More importantly, though, it is okay to make a professional application. This is Apple, known for simplicity. This is their app called Motion. It's a complex app. It does complex stuff, and that's okay. Just because it has more features does not make it poor design. Or what about an airplane cockpit? If you put my mom here and said, fly the plane, she would fail. But that doesn't mean it's a poor design. It just means my mom is not a pilot. There's a distinction. Now, I talked to an actual pilot about this. She's like, oh, I hate that cockpit. It's really hard to use. Awesome. Well, that's where usability testing comes in. A lot of designers think their gut will tell them what the right design is. But going out and talking to people, even if it's just one person or 2 people, is better than nothing. Any data you can get is valuable. Don't think that you need like millions of dollars for usability testing. However, you can't trust every data point equally. Use these data points to inform your design, but understand that people lie. They just do. Now, speaking of liars, this is my good friend Bill. I don't know if you can see him over there, but that's him having a really tough time with an experience that I designed. And yet the words coming out of his mouth, because he's my friend, were like, oh, I see what you did there. Good job, dude. So his face told the real story. It's important to really keep an eye out for that. Now, my favorite example of actually talking to your users to get data, now, if you look up there, these were the original OK buttons, but people thought it said DOLT. D-O-L-T. So the Apple engineers were like, okay, so they changed it to say okay. That's why we have OK buttons today, and it's great. Now, what I love about that is this never would have come up in like a unit test or a Scrum or anything like that. You just have to go out and talk to your users early and often. So I want to leave you with one more point today. I want to summarize what I've talked about so far. Predictability is the goal. Simple is not necessarily good design. A lot of people focus on the first load at the expense of the 100th load. And finally, testing is vital, but it can be unreliable. Now, the final point I want to leave you with today, it kind of blew my mind when I first heard it. Form follows emotion. When I first saw this, it made me think of those David Bowie pants on the first slide. As you might recall, not a fan. But as I've been at Frog for the last year, I've started getting a real respect for how much emotion can really impact a design. It can do some amazing things. And what's amazing about it is you don't see this in a spreadsheet, and you can't teach it in a school. It just takes experience. And if you get really good at harnessing it, you can do some amazing things. Like, for example, saving a company.